Dear all, welcome to Hrtech.sg's demo hour edition for June 2021. In today's session, we will be showcasing how we can leverage technology for diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging at the workplace. Before that, here's a quick overview of Hrtech.sg. We host what is Singapore's largest and curated marketplace of over 110 providers across 8 HR categories. In fact, we are also the co-creators of the Singapore Hrtech Market Map, which is endorsed by the Institute for Human Resource Professionals, the Singapore Human Resource Institute, and Singapore Polytechnic. We embarked on the Demo Hour event series in 2019 to evangelize and promote use of HR technologies. The event provides a platform for tech providers to showcase their high-tech HR solutions. The focus is to aid the acceleration of adoption of HR tech. The event motto has always been only to showcase demos and not presentations. The first event happened in September 2019 at our WeWork facility in Suntec, Singapore. And then after the onset of the pandemic, we have now moved to an on-demand webinar format. While the April edition focused on organizational network analysis, showcasing various providers in that space, since May was Mental Wellness Awareness Month, we had 4 employee mental wellness technology providers showcasing their solutions. And June being the Pride Month, we're going to showcase how HR tech solutions in the diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging space how technology can be leveraged for bringing about DEIB in the workspace. An increasingly diverse multi-generational workforce, growing tech, and especially AI adoption, the resurgence of protests for equality, the global health and economic crisis post-COVID, together all of these have amplified the importance of DEIB at the workplace. So a workforce diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging are not necessarily synonymous, but when you kind of bring them together, they can actually help organizations realize fantastic benefits. While diversity is a fact, which is the actual data and numbers, inclusion is the choice of inviting diverse groups to take part in the decision-making process. Belonging is the feeling that helps everyone feel accepted and they are able to bring their authentic self to the workplace. And finally, equity is all about acknowledging that everyone has different needs, experiences, and opportunities. That's why we have the famous quote by Werner Myers, which says, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. And we have Jeff Hutchinson who adds to it, right? Belonging is deciding the music for the party, and equity is having an accessibility ramp to the door. I think these 4 statements succinctly provides us the definition of DEIB. In a diverse workplace, differences will exist and people will require support in different ways. Hence, there is an urgent need for enterprises to leverage technology. And we are seeing that actually happening in the marketplace. According to the latest study published by Red Research, the DEIB tech global market size is estimated to be 313 US million and growing. It's up from about 100 million in 2019. A lot of HR tech providers today offer features or functionalities to service this space. The DEIB tech landscape, as you can see from the Red Research on the screen, is getting quite deep with niche solutions now available across the employee life cycle, right? Including talent acquisition, talent development, talent engagement, and people analytics. So we have a whole host of services available. In fact, would urge all of you to click the blog the link that is available on the screen. That's Hrtech.sg's detailed blog actually by Svecha on how technology can be leveraged for addressing the DEIB at the workplace. So to showcase technology solutions that service this segment, we have representatives from 4 best-in-class HR tech providers, diversely being represented by Helen and Hayley, Impress being represented by Sudhanshu and Daniyal, Talent Games being represented by Aashir and Daniyal, and finally Zopa being represented by Stuti. Thank you again for watching this on-demand webinar. Do follow www.hrtech.sg for more HR technology related insights and trends. I now hand it over to Sudhanshu of Impress. Over to you, Sudh.
Thank you, Sriram. So just a quick introduction, going to keep this efficient. Impress.ai was established in 2017. We are a platform for recruitment automation. And we call ourselves the AI and fair hiring. And you can see that the most important goal for us when we were starting the company was to make it easier to do what we think is the right thing. And the right thing, in our opinion, is to do structured and unbiased hiring. And being able to do that at scale is what we want to enable. AI is our tool of choice, and we deliver this in the form of a SaaS recruitment automation platform. Our business is currently in 5 countries. We've served over 50 enterprises at a global scale. We're localized for multiple different languages, and we cover Asia region as one of our strategic areas in terms of languages. We are recognized by the Singapore government. We're accredited under the SGD program. We're SOC 2 audited every year, and we focus massively on enterprise readiness. And just to end off the slide, we are focused on empowering fair hiring for recruiters and candidates both. This is a quick introduction to some of the capabilities of the Impress.ai platform. We believe in wrapping our solution in an active conversational experience. So our chatbot runs the experience for the candidates when they're applying for a role. Essentially, we're a recruitment platform. So we sit on top of the applicant tracking system, and we add all of these AI capabilities to that applicant tracking platform. Currently, we're integrated with the most commonly used enterprise ATS like Workday, SAP SuccessFactors, and Taleo, and more keep getting added to that list. We cover a comprehensive range of capabilities in recruitment automation. I'll move to the live demo. So what you see on the screen now is the chatbot that interviews the candidate for this particular role. So the core thesis behind this is that when the recruiter is setting up a particular workflow, which will interview the candidate in the form of this chatbot, it's based on competencies required for the role. So any question that's going to be asked in this is going to be based on the role. So that's really the basis of how the platform operates. It's based on competencies. That's how we make recruiting fairer in our world. So just to give you a sense of how the experience operates, it introduces the company, it introduces the company culture. Candidates can watch a video about some of the company activities and then proceed with the application. So as a candidate, I'm applying for this role at the same time while getting assessed for it. We operate in multiple languages, and what this says here is that I'll be asked for my resume in Mandarin, and then I'm ready to proceed because my resume is already uploaded. My resume gets parsed. This is where we extract the skills and abilities, past experience, and all of that information is already extracted from the resume. This is then used to ask follow-up questions. So based on the resume, the platform starts to ask me questions, asking me to prioritize the top skills I have, and then filling in any gaps that it finds. So here it found, for example, there's a gap in my resume, and it's asking me to explain that. I'm going to pick an answer. And here's a sample of what we can do in Bahasa Indonesia. So what we're really trying to do here is we go through a pre-screening section, and then we will go through a competency-based section. We really believe in scenario-based questions and situational judgment questions because they can get as close to the job in a virtual setting as possible. So we have a sample of that coming up here. So here's an example of a scenario-based question, which is meant to describe a retail situation. So the candidate is asked to imagine this and react to that situation. Here we have an example of 3 different customers that the candidate needs to deal with, and they need to prioritize which customer to deal with first. So we can pick an answer to this. We're going to type this out. Based on my answer, I'm given a follow-up question as well. So, okay, after this, would you give preference to the phone call or would you greet the new customer? If I go back and change my answer, because I can go back one step. If I say greet the new customer, the follow-up question changes accordingly. So we really believe in questions like this because they make the job come alive for the candidate, and they focus on what's really important for the job. At the end of this experience, the candidate can also ask questions. I skipped a step there, which is to do with third-party assessments. But what I really wanted to come to is our FAQ section where the candidate can ask questions. For example, I could ask things like, do I need to work overtime? So the candidate can ask questions based on the job, based on the company culture, and have them answered immediately. So this is the candidate experience, which focuses on the requirements for the job. We're now going to take a look at a sample dashboard that the recruiter sees. So after a candidate has gone through that kind of an experience, they turn up on a dashboard where they have been scored by the platform based on the answers they gave. There's an entire table of scores here, which then gets added up as a weighted average to give us the total score. And the total score is how the shortlisting happens. Essentially, the way we're helping our clients enhance diversity is in two respects. One is by asking job-related questions and ignoring information that is really not important for the role. And that can include, names and email addresses. So for example, on this dashboard, you don't see any information about who this candidate is, right? You only see numbers. Even when you click on the candidate's profile, you can only see the candidate's answers and not their name, because the name and identity is hidden. You can see their resume, but again, you don't see their name. So this has had an enormous amount of impact on how our customers have been promoting their diversity efforts. We have seen this have a very tangible impact to the tune of increasing diversity shortlisted candidates by up to 100% in some cases. So this has been phenomenal because by default, all the identifying information is hidden from the view of the recruiter until they shortlist the candidate. So based on the total score, I would shortlist the top candidates, and then I can see who they are. So that really goes to show how we've designed the platform to enhance how recruiters shortlist based on what matters for the role, rather than have biases as to where this candidate comes from and what their background might be. So I'll stop there with the demo and happy to answer any questions.
Hi, Sud. So a few questions for you. What are some of the interesting trends that you're witnessing in the market, in this market? And how is Impress differentiated to meet these emerging requirements of the enterprises?
I think diversity is gaining more and more importance. That is very clear. It helps that we have more awareness events happening. Clients are taking more of an interest, especially the international companies. With European and American companies, you really see a huge focus on their global hiring to increase diversity. We're seeing that more and more in Australia as well. I think with Singapore headquartered companies, it's still an ongoing effort, but Western headquartered companies, it's become a huge priority. To be able to keep up with this demand, we are having to stay ahead of the curve, make sure that we're helping customers not just ignore biasing information or hide biasing information, but actually in some cases take active, be able to track that diversity information. It's important to be able to balance out the numbers when you're trying to increase diversity. So you need to start controlling that better. So for Impress AI, we're having to develop new technology and new tools which can help be more inclusive when, for example, candidates have visual impairments or some kind of physical difficulties in taking the test or taking this kind of a virtual interview. We have to build in accommodations for them. So all of that is a key trend that we're seeing in the market. It's becoming more and more important. It's definitely a very positive direction. How we are differentiated is that the entire platform architecture from the start was built to be revolving around competencies and skills required for the job. So when a customer or a user creates a workflow to interview candidates on the chatbot, they do it based on job descriptions. They do it based on the competencies required for the role and really nothing else. And implementing these features where we hide the names and emails of the candidates, this was built into the core architecture of the platform. While we've seen that in many other tools, this is something that needs to be implemented from the top. So that's how we're differentiated.
It's very nice. Thanks, Sudhanshu. Thanks for that great demo. I'd like to now call Hayley and Helen from Diversely to take the stage, please.
Hello, we are Diversely. My name is Helen McGuire. I'm the CEO of the business, and shortly you'll be meeting Hayley Bakker, who is our CPO, who'll be taking you through a demo. But just quickly to introduce Diversely, we are a company that is a year old. We're a global business, a B2B SaaS based on a subscription service. And we're solving two specific issues right at the beginning of the hiring pipeline. Number one, what is my current diversity? How can I track that? How can I measure it? And how can I improve it? And secondly, how can I improve the amount of diverse talent that's coming into my pipeline and take bias out of that initial focus on hiring right at the sourcing stage? We found so far by using our tools, which we'll take you through shortly, that our clients are finding up to 70% more diverse candidates at the very beginning of their search. They're spending half the amount of time that it would normally take to source those applicants, and they're finding double the relevant talent to join their business. So we have three specific ways in which we help businesses. The first is through our useful analytics. So we've built a customized D&I dashboard that helps businesses to set, track, measure, and improve their diversity. Secondly, we've created 3 bias-free hiring tools using AI and machine learning, which we'll take you through shortly. And finally, you'll find unconscious bias training threaded through the platform. We start right at the beginning of the process. So I'll hand over to Hayley, who will be able to take you through exactly how the product works.
I'm here to take you through a quick 10-minute demo. This is based on the Food Panda account. They've been trialing our solution for the past 6 months. I think, as Helen mentioned, we haven't even launched yet. So this is a little bit of a sneak preview. We've currently got 20 trial clients on here, and Food Panda is one of them. The data within the platform is all demo data. So just wanted to make that caveat. So in this demo, I'm going to be Lynette, and Lynette works at Food Panda in their HR department. And when I log in, this is the screen that I arrive at. So it shows at the top, front and center, my diversity score and how I'm trending. Then it shows me my users. So I currently have 2 users and 4 jobs that I'm hiring for. So Helen mentioned 2 business challenges, and I'll start off with the first one. Understanding where we are and where we'd like to get when it comes to our diversity and hiring. So this is our diversity dashboard. At the top, we see our overall score broken down into 3 separate parts. So overall, we're trending at 45% against a 56% benchmark. All of this data is based on qualitative surveys and benchmarked against currently over 200 companies globally. We can then see how we're doing on our current workforce breakdown, our organization and policies, and our tracking tools and strategies. So as you can see, this is an area where a lot of progress can still be made, although even the benchmark of 34% is pretty low. This is meant to give leadership and management a bird's eye view of where to focus their attention and resources when it comes to diversity and inclusion. You can also see a share icon on the right, and that is whether you'd like to make this public or not. And you'll see that come back in our candidate experience shortly. Then if we scroll down, we have our more quantitative aspects. And this has all been set up by the client themselves, so foodpanda in this case. It shows on different types of diversity, such as gender, where the company workforce currently stands. So as you can see, they're heavily overrepresented for male and underrepresented for female employees. And then the target where they'd like to get. So they'd like to get to 37% female hiring in the next year. Let me just quickly show you how this has been set up and how that customizable dashboard might work. So you can see that the company can set their diversity at any level, either at overall across the company or specific in the scope of one or a couple of countries. So we could say Singapore and Malaysia, for instance. Then we can also define which priorities we have. So gender identity, is that a priority? Yes. If not, we could also skip that one. Then within gender diversity, what does that mean to us? Is it just male, female, or do we also have a gender fluid non-binary option? And then using the simple sliding scale, we can set based on any measurement that we have where we currently stand. So let's say we're 83 and where we'd like to be in the next year. Wherever we want to be, we could even set that at 50% if that seems realistic. So for companies who don't have this, have a separate service and API that uses public information about the company, for instance, on their LinkedIn profile, to pre-populate these diversity data against gender, race and ethnicity, which you see here, as well as on age. So again, to showcase how flexible and customizable we are when it comes to race and ethnicity, it's currently set at Chinese, Indonesian, India, but that could be also set at a global level, so Black, White, Asian, American, or at any detailed level of granularity that makes sense for wherever you are in the world. I mentioned a couple of other types of diversity, so it can also be set against age, orientation, or disability, and really quickly added as so. What you'll notice is once we set this to wherever we want to be, we can then save those settings and it will be all reflected back in our dashboard. And as we begin hiring, what will happen is we'll be able to see how we're progressing with our incoming applicants on these targets that we've set. So that's for understanding where we are, and now we know where we want to be. It's all about attracting those diverse applicants to our job ads in the first place. And there are a couple of ways in which we go about that. So we're just going into our job section right now, where this would either load directly from your applicant tracking system, or if we're not integrated, you could also just manually add a job over here. So we'll just go into an existing job like our mobility and resourcing manager for a second. So you can see these fields are already populated. There are a lot of tooltips throughout the system trying to promote more inclusive hiring. So some quick tips throughout. Once you've completed all the mandatory details, which aren't that many as you can see, then we can proceed to the next stage of 4, which is writing our job ad. So when we write our job ad, this is our first tool, which is called our job ad bias analyzer. So it's an augmented writing tool, which we've created together with the University of Nottingham's Applied Linguistics Department. They've provided us 3 years of research into biased language, which we've used to train our AI and NLP models. So you can either type directly into the tool, or what most people do is copy paste your job ad in here. Then you could run the appeal here. And what you'll see is 2 things. On the left, the job ad is scored across appeal, which means how inclusive is the language or how much bias is there in the language, or as well as the structure score, which speaks more about, as it says, how this job ad is broken down, the length, the topics that are covered, etc. So if we'd like to improve, and in this example, we saw that women were underrepresented. So in that case, we might want to look into the different types of bias. So this job ad has 12 masculine phrases, and masculine phrases might deter female applicants. So what we then want to do is replace all the purple words. You'll see that there's a mapping between the colors. So we could say strong, rather say demonstrable, or analytical. We could replace with methodical, or let's take another word, building, with creating or developing. And once we've replaced some of that language, we could run the appeal score again, see how we're trending. and then proceed to the next step. So now we've written a more inclusive job ad, we come to the job ad posting. So what this is a recommendation of different channels or job boards where you could post that job ad out to. We got over 500 job boards on our platform, and we recommend the best ones for you, given your underrepresented groups. So whether you're looking for a woman, 50+ age group, or people with a disability, and across your industry and geography. So you see two groups. We have integrated job boards that you'd be able to click and select and post your job out directly with one click once you've connected those accounts. And we've got non-integrated job boards. So these usually focus more on those local, smaller community groups. And what we do is then recommend, so you can just check out what they do. It opens information about that job board, about where they are, what industries they focus on, but also what their talent pools look like. And if you're interested, you could simply create an account with them. And independent of where you post out to, we provide a unique apply URL so that when an applicant is applying, and I can show you what that looks like as well, they would automatically be brought back into our system. So that has a mobile journey as well as a web-based journey. And what you'll see is the applicant can then read about the skills that are required, about the role. So this would be the rewritten job ad. It will be able to view the company profile. And if you set your diversity settings to public, then it would also show your diversity scores and what that means. It speaks a little bit about the company. And then they'd simply be able to apply here with a few fields. They can apply with their LinkedIn profile or by submitting a PDF CV and have to accept our privacy statement and submit. All of these applicants then would come back into our platform in the applicant view here. And similar to Impress, we believe in bias-free shortlisting at the start, which means that you would not see any applicant name or email address or age or marital status. You can simply click on each individual, review what is really required to make a decision. So their work experience, you could see their education or certification and skills. We remove schools and university names, as well as other potentially biased data from decision-making. Different recruiters and hiring managers can then rate those profiles. They can leave a comment, which is good for audit and comparison. And then they could also then decide at that point in time whether they would like to shortlist or reject that applicant. One of the big pain points that applicants face is not receiving any follow-up, which is terrible from an employer brand perspective. So anytime that an applicant, let's say we want to shortlist this person, that means that once we click yes, an automatic diversely language approved message goes out to the applicant informing them of the status. But even if we were to reject the applicant, the same would happen, ensuring that all applicants get a really fair, equitable, and informed experience across. So this is the end of the Diversely platform. We allow different reports to be generated off the back of this. And essentially, to summarize, what we've done is we've helped companies understand where they are, where they'd like to be across multiple diversity elements. Then we've helped them to write a more inclusive job ad, discover new job boards where they might be able to find those underrepresented groups, and made it easy for them to post out. And finally, we've removed bias from the shortlisting part of the applicant review. Thank you.
This is great, Hayley and Helen. So a few questions there for you guys. What are some of the interesting trends that you're witnessing in the market, especially Singapore? And how is Diversely differentiated to meet these emerging requirements of the HR teams?
Yeah, sure. Great question. Thank you. So I guess one of the trends that we see quite typically now is number one around data and measurement. So being able to understand how diverse you are as a business, and of course, to track and measure any improvements that you're making. Obviously, with an increase in D&I budgets, we've seen a 63% increase in the numbers of people with D&I in their title in just the last year. It means that D&I practitioners are being held accountable for the money that they're spending and the processes and practices that they're putting in place. Secondly, in terms of how we differentiate ourselves in the market, I think it's really three things. First of all, we start right at the very beginning of the hiring process, enabling businesses to start off on the right foot. If you don't have a diverse candidate base right at the top of your hiring pipeline, it doesn't matter how many bias-free assessments or hiring processes you go through, you simply won't have reached the right people at the very beginning. Secondly, we work across 5 elements of diversity. So many of the solutions that are out there on the market now focus purely on gender. We focus across 5 elements. And finally, we're very focused on data and measurement. So data and analytics underscore everything that we do on the platform. And there's always a way for businesses to produce, generate, and run reports on the progress that they're making on D&I.
That's superb. Thanks a lot, Helen and Hayley, for the demo, and really enjoyed it. I'd like to now call upon Aashir and Daniyal from Talent Games to show the demo.
Hi, thank you, Swetcha, so much for the introduction. Looking forward to just introducing our organization. So the Talent Games, we have been around for the past 4 years in Asia as one of the biggest gamified assessment providers. We have been gamifying different areas and in an attempt to provide a more holistic view of candidates to recruiters in a more fulfilling kind of assessment style. So let me just share my screen really quickly and get going. I have a few slides I'd like to present and then move into a game demo. So yeah, quickly, just what are gamified assessments, right? When we talk about gamification, what are the key benefits that companies are getting out of this? Primarily, of course, they're a lot more fun. So the candidate experience is improving significantly, all the same time providing you richer candidate insights. So using neuroscience and artificial intelligence, companies can leverage these candidate reports and deep analytics, and they can shortlist the right candidates based on the scores they get in these gamified assessments. This obviously is allowing recruiters to keep things fair. The candidates also get the same perception, and that enhances the employer brand at the end of the day. Of course, utilizing technology in such a remote way also gives us the advantages of having a larger candidate pool to assess and being able to assess them in a cheaper and faster manner, right? So of course, we're using unbiased algorithms in the process and making sure that, of course, this will allow us to make diverse hiring simply by avoiding biases and ensuring a fair and level playing field. So what are the areas of assessments we are currently covering? Those are behavioral assessments, which we're judging using situational judgment tests by putting applicants in relevant real life work scenarios, using neuroscience-based games, which assess key cognitive abilities, as well as aptitude tests to assess numerical reasoning, verbal reasoning, and the likes of those aptitude sections. At the end of it, your candidate experience does get reimagined. Here is some of the data that we've captured from candidates in terms of the responses for the experience. 60% of these candidates believe that our games help recruitment processes hire better quality candidates. 80% of candidates believe our gamified recruitment games are more relevant to the jobs they're applying for. And about 90% believe that these methodologies actually reflect real life work scenario a lot more. So this is a bit of an infographic on some of the candidate experience we have gathered explicitly with our project with Nestle AOA, which is the Asia, Oceania, and Sub-Saharan Africa region, where we ran the Nestmanship program, gamified assessment solutions in over 13 markets. So this is what Nestle had to say in terms of a client, but this is also what you can see candidates had to say. 94% of them found that it was a greatly fun experience. 91% believed that after playing our game, that the employer provided a fun work environment, and 51% is the net promoter score we achieved, which is pretty high. So how does this game work in terms of, we do have two kinds of games available. One is a fully customized process tailored from start to end. And then there is the ready to play game for the majority of our clients who are in a bit of a hurry. So of course, time, as we said, it is not just cheaper, it is also faster. We have deployed some of our solutions in as short as 72 hours. These are the steps that are involved in deploying that game. simply the selection criteria is realized, the relevant assessment tools are realized from our assessment database. And step 3 is where we put together the game and hand over the link to our clients, and they can actually then launch that game in steps 4 and 5 to assess candidates and continue on with their shortlisting journey. Here are some additional features. We also cover social media campaigns in terms of helping employers attract the best kind of candidate, helping them attract the most diverse talent pool, because of course you never know where your best talent is coming from. Then we also have integrated video interviews, additional languages the game can be transformed into, biometric security measures, and as well as ATS integrations, which can be done on demand. So that's the quick and short of our solution in terms of everything and every step that's involved along the way to make sure that there's a fair recruitment process. It is an inclusive recruitment process. And at the end, it is an effective and efficient recruitment process for the recruiters as well. So I'm just going to jump into now our demo. So here we have a simple Google Chrome browser, which is all that is required to play one of our games. Here we have a URL, which is where our game is hosted. And that's the beauty of our games, is that all you need is a web browser and a good internet connection, and you can play our game on the internet right away. So we come exactly landing on our landing page. These are art screens that we've designed, can be customized for clients. Quickly, from the candidate experience point of view, we get to experience the instructions, simple instructions such as have a good internet connection, use a desktop or a mobile phone. All of our games are mobile friendly, so you can play them on any smartphone or iPad. And then a couple of other security features in terms of if they click out of the game too many times, they may get locked out. If they try to attempt the game in too many attempts, they may get locked out. And just asking them to pay attention to all of the instructions coming up. Support at thetalentgames.com is our candidate support helpline. Of course, through this entire process, this journey of candidates landing on our game and being shortlisted and recruiters getting that data, it is of the utmost importance that candidates have a smooth experience in order to make sure they have the best experience and to have a positive impact on the employer brand. Once they've consented to the check boxes, they can then go ahead and begin. This is where they will put in their email address. If they have not already made a password, they will be asked to make a password, and then they can move on in. Since we already have one, we will proceed by entering our password. So once we've entered our password, made our account, we're greeted with a data privacy statement. This is strictly to ensure that candidates feel comfortable and assure them that their data is in fact kept secured, so as to avoid any kind of nervousness from their part. Then we begin into our game, which is a simulation of the inside of a corporation, where Sarah is our personal guide into the life of C Corp, the simulated environment, and Sarah will take us through the entire game to tell us in terms of what are we getting into as a candidate, what can we expect, and why are we being asked to play this game. So Sarah will go on and tell them that this game is about understanding the capabilities, putting them into activities that they have to submit, and we'll even get sample questions and give them tutorials to give them a good idea of how and what to expect in their game and how to play it. So quick example here is a sample question of an SGT. You'll see there's a question, there's a timer running. So all of these questions are time bound, and there are 4 answers that they can pick from. Depending on the answer that they choose, of course, they can just go forward. So we let them know that whenever they come across these situations, they just have to pick the question which seems right to them. There is no right or wrong answer, and that's reinforced with the candidates through these dialogues. So once this introduction part is done, we move on to the registration form. So our game can actually double as your online application platform. So once they've signed in, we will collect their personal and academic information details for the recruiters right here in this form. Once they have submitted those details, there's also an optional service of allowing candidates to upload their resumes. So that's all of this data will then be available to you in one of our portals, which we provide every client. In that portal, you have access to the game scores, the registration information, the resumes, and a full individualized report card for every candidate. So once we're done with the registration format and the full onboarding of a candidate into our standard C-Factor game, we are brought here to the control tower. The control tower is what we call this really tall building on which each level, each floor is a separate game. Each game is a separate test, testing for different ability. So let's go through one of our sample tests. That's My Problem is the name of the game for candidates. Essentially, this is an gamified SJT, situation judgment test, where we are testing for a specific behavioral competency. As you can see in this game, dialogues and artworks, we have provided the candidate with a character to follow, and there are additional support characters. In this one, Leon Lee is the character in front of the desk. The candidate is this character behind the desk. In our standard games, each SJT has different characters, and this allows us to actually depict diversity and inclusivity into our games as well, making sure there's a healthy balance of all kinds of individuals from across the world. So in this specific scenario, as the candidate has been part of a smartwatch launch, which has gone really successfully, but their boss comes in and informs them that certain complaints have started coming in for the smartwatches cracking on their own. This format we're very familiar with, as we just saw in the introduction. There's a timer, there are 4 options to choose from. Now, depending on which answer option we choose, this will lead us to another scenario unfolding. So this is entirely dependent on the answers we chose previously. Similarly, once again, if we choose a different option, so for example, if I chose the last one, or if I chose the first one, the corresponding last question will be different. Now, this is how we keep the game dynamic, ensuring that candidates who are sitting together, even playing this game, are getting actually different flows depending on their answer, and it remains dynamic. Each SJT tests for that specific competency 3 times, once in the first question, and then the second, and then the third. And once we're done with the third and final question, we will be brought back to the control tower. As you can see, once we've completed one of the games, a tick mark will be shown. So this is how we test our behavioral competencies. Then we have aptitude tests, and we have cognitive ability tests. One of my favorites, cognitive ability tests, is box sort. And this one tests actually for divided attention. So just going to take you through here briefly. As you can note from the vertical alignment of this game's screen frame, these are actually optimized for playing on mobiles as well. So we found that a large, healthy number of our candidates playing these games are actually playing them on their smartphones. So in this game, we've even provided a tutorial for candidates where we have these tutorials instructing candidates to actually make sure that the conveyor belts point in the right direction for each of the boxes. So you just have to simply match the boxes to their correct colors, and you're on your way. The difficulty level increases with the increasing speed of these conveyor belt boxes, and of course the scoring of each will also increase subsequently. And that's it. So once they're back at our game tower, once the candidates have completed all of these games, they will be greeted with an end screen message thanking them, informing them of the next steps, and ensuring that they are well aware of what to expect next, as well as receiving individualized candidate reports, which customers can opt for, whether they want those the candidates to actually receive those reports or not. But those are also a feature that we offer. Those also cover not just an understanding of their performance in the game, but also giving them key areas of development in terms of how they can improve on those areas that they were tested on during the course of the game.
Great. Thanks, Aashir. Thanks a lot for the demo. Just a few questions out there. What are some of the interesting trends that you're seeing in the marketplace? And how is Talent Games differentiated to meet these emerging requirements of these enterprises?
Thank you, Swetcha. Great question. So some of the trends that we've been seeing are along the lines of there's a definite felt increase of demand for gamified solutions in the market. There's an increased demand for assessment solutions, which allow companies to hire and assess in bulk. And there's an increased demand for a less biased and transparent recruitment processes. Along with that, as gamification is getting more and more popular with companies, we also see the clients getting more and more savvy with gamified assessments and coming up with newer and better questions, such as what are you doing to ensure security, and what anti-cheating measures are you guys taking? then clients are also looking for solutions which can be integrated into their application tracking systems. So what we've been doing is actually some of these we've been doing from the birth of our organization. We've designed these games in a way in order to make sure that cheating is a very difficult task for these candidates, by ensuring that it's not very easy to figure out the right answer, making sure the candidate doesn't know what they're being assessed for, making sure there are no right or wrong answers, just better and not so great ones. And at the end, of course, you have the dynamic scenarios which play out depending on the answers you give and take. On top of which, we've also developed a facial proctoring system. So we actually have this developed into our game and attached, so you can actually use facial recognition as an anti-cheating measure as well, which we have deployed for one of our customized clients, and it has been running very smoothly. And then on the ATS integration, same thing. From client to client basis, we have been doing customized application tracking system integrations, which allows just the right amount of information to flow and to make sure that there's a very smooth process. So recruiters at the end, although we do have a reporting portal, which can allow recruiters to do all the shortlisting, go through all the reports and data, but through an integration, this allows them to stick to the one portal they're already using and not have them use multiple different checkpoints.
Thanks a lot, Aashir. And I'd like to now call upon Stuti from Zopa for sharing her demo, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stuti, and I'm the Regional Sales Manager at Zopa for APAC. So at Zopa, we are the most objective hiring platform, and we leverage AI and data science for better selections to scale. So we were founded in 2017, and we have our headquarters in Singapore, and we have offices in UK, UAE, and we have clients all across the globe. So here at Zopa, we believe that we need to fight with bias all along the process in the entire recruitment cycle. So as an organization, we identified some of the key factors which can add bias in the process. So these are some of the factors which we identified. So there are biases in the process due to human chemistry and gut feel. There are also biases related to colleges, schools, and background. So tier 1 schools versus tier 2, tier 3. And we also identified that people having same social and economic background tend to get selected in the hiring process. We also identified that a well-articulated resume, a candidate having a well-articulated resume tend to get selected, as compared to one who doesn't really have a well-articulated resume. We also identified some of the other human factors like gender, race, age, sexual orientation, which can create a lot of bias in the process and, not able to, which can help organizations, get lost with the biases and ultimately fail in the hiring. We realize that 80% of biases can be removed with a scientific approach. So when it comes to job description biases, we make sure that we do not include details related to, age, gender, color, etc. And in terms of resume screening, we make sure that we capture the content in terms of skills and roles and responsibilities of the individual while parsing the resume. And we leave out details like gender, age, etc. Also, in terms of interview response bias and video bias, we make sure that we hide the names and the details of the individual so that you can only see the response. We also mask we also mask the details, name, and you cannot hear the interview as well. Rather, we generate transcripts which can help you read the response of the candidate. And once you select a candidate, you can see the entire video. But in the initial process, just to make sure that you do not get lost because of unconscious biases, we help hiring managers to just mask all these details so that they can eventually get to the right hiring and hire the right talent for their organization. So this is our platform Zopa AI. So here we have developed features in which you can toggle some of the capabilities like enable inclusive hiring. So here you can just click on yes, and all the details related to applications in your applicant tracking system will be hidden. So I'll take an example of a job. Okay, so I'll take an example of a business development director. So here you will see all the details related to a job, but in the screening section where you will start receiving a lot of candidates. So once you post this position, we have certain factors like CV relevance, loyalty, and performance, which is created by the artificial intelligence to help you identify the right fit for a specific role. So now as a recruiter, if you receive thousands and thousands of candidates for a specific role, you can just quickly sort all these candidates on the basis of CV relevance in the descending order. Now here you will also see that all the details related to name and the personal details are masked with the help of the functionality in which we can just switch on the diversity and inclusion toggle. And here all of these details are masked, and just on the basis of skill match, location match, seniority match, or job function match, the system is the system is able to tell the CV relevance of a specific candidate, which can help recruiters to screen candidates faster. Now here we eliminate all the factors which can add biases in the hiring process. So typically it will exclude details related to race, gender, color, religion, etc. So our algorithms, which are patented by Zopa, are actually bias-free. And that's how we help organizations to screen candidates faster. Now, moving on, we also have assessments. So we offer the entire recruitment capabilities, to take you through the entire recruitment process, but we also have abilities to have assessments. Now, in the assessment part as well, as an organization, you will have a capability to play with some of the features in terms of fighting with biases. So here, if you look at the candidates, all of these candidates who have gone through the assessment, their details are masked. As soon as you shortlist any of these candidates, it will show you the details. So for example, Shri Gopal and Stuti, they shortlisted during, after completing the assessment. So their details are visible, but the candidates who have still, time to go through the assessment, their details are masked. So this is the way we fight with biases on day-to-day basis and during the entire recruitment process. And we make sure that we just not focus on the first stage where, recruiters are responsible to, create a pipeline with a more diverse set of individuals, but we also actively fight bias during the entire recruitment process. So these are some of the features which we have, and that would really, help your organization solve, the problem of bias or having unconscious bias during the hiring process. Thank you.
Thanks, Stuti. Thanks for the wonderful demo. Just a quick couple of questions there for you. What are some of the interesting trends that you're witnessing in the marketplace? And how is Zopa differentiated to meet these emerging trends of enterprises?
Interesting. So Suchitra, I think there is a lot of focus on diversity and inclusion in the organizations now. They have identified the importance in the terms of how a diverse set of individuals can add a lot of value in their product and services. And that's how there is also an emerging need of sourcing more diverse and make them included, feel them included in the organization as well. So I feel not just finding diverse candidates, in terms of gender, race, color, religion, etc., but also, having a platform which can support during the entire recruitment process and make the process an unbiased one. I think that is something which the organizations are focusing, and they are conducting structured interview or unconscious bias trainings as well. for this purpose. In terms of adding value, our product have algorithms which exclude factors which can create bias during the process. So our patented algorithms do not include any factors related to anything which can really help or anything related to race, color, religion, etc. Also, we can mask details so that we can have a more objective process, and we can focus more on selecting candidates in terms of skills and capabilities, and not getting distracted by unconscious bias. Lastly, we can also generate reports which can help you keep in track when it comes to diverse talent within the organization.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot, Stuti, and thanks everyone. Just to round it off, I'd like to say that organizations around the world and of all sizes are recognizing the importance of a more diverse workforce and a more inclusive environment. This awareness around DEIB has brought significant technological innovation like the solutions we saw today to help organizations with talent acquisition, learning and development, engagement, and analytics. As HR teams continue to invest in their D&I programs, implementing and leveraging some of the best diversity practices and technology will help enable them to take a tangible step toward achieving more diverse and inclusive organization. Obviously, there is no silver bullet or a one-size-fits-all formula. Particularly in DEIB efforts, technology alone cannot be and will not change anything. It has and always be an enabler. While organizations can undoubtedly leverage the plethora of ever-evolving technology to support diversity and inclusion across their workforce, evaluating their investments in HR technology across the talent lifecycle, technology will be a critical component in the sustainable success of the DEIB strategy. On behalf of Hrtech.sg, I would like to thank all our partners for sharing the demos of their innovative solutions today. If you would like to see more of such demo hour sessions, do drop us a line at info@hrtech.sg. Thank you and have a good day.